Kyle here from All Media Reviews, here to do another extra additional Thud track video from Kevin Gilbert. This time I'm talking about the track Waking the Sun. There's two versions that I know of. One was originally released, I believe, because I don't think there's one on Call Me Kai, any of the Call Me Kai records, but he had some songs that were similar titled, but yeah, the first one that I know of is the one that the standard version that came out on Bolts. That's the one with the vocals. And then there's a all instrumental version, and it's 3 minutes and 44 seconds. It's an all instrumental version that's a slightly longer, 3:52 on the Anniversary, so it doesn't have vocals. Not quite. It's not quite true. So, Waking the Sun, it's the first track on Bolts. So I mean, I guess I've always kind of leaned toward Nuts between the two compilations, although my memorization of the track list of Nuts and Bolts sometimes blurs. But it is the first track on here. Now listening to it again today, I'm remembering, yeah, it kind of suggested that this compilation was going to be more acoustic, more lighter, not quite as layered, and more singer-songwriter, I guess you could say in some ways. But it's an uplifting song. I've always liked it, although I think it's kind of gotten lost in the shuffle. And in like the rest, in a lot of his extra tracks, all these posthumous releases and stuff like that, it's not thought of as highly. It's been addictive, but not for good reason. It's one song that certainly warrants being listened to more. Having gone through all the Thud stuff the last month and change, I could sort of see why it wasn't included. But among all these extra tracks, it certainly would have fit somewhat on Thud. So, talking about the Bolts version, he has the lyrics, "Jenny, we both know the truth." I don't think that's referencing Jenny Ledge, but it might be a former, relationship of his. But it's got this like just folky, uplifting, folky vibe to it. It reminds me of Crosby, Stills, Nash, Crosby, Stills and Young. Or the one that and more so on the instrumental, it reminds me a lot of Kansas Forever, Dust in the Wind. Although at points Kevin in the verses has that kind of sleepy element of the singer-songwriter type, and that was an element of the 90s. That was a big deal. A lot of singer-songwriters were becoming more and more in vogue in the 90s, not so much in the 80s. People wanted to get away from the electronic side of everything in the 80s, so in the 90s, let's do more some stripped-down, rootsy kind of music, Love the bridge, Shine the Light. It sounds almost like a Jellyfish type thing, or like a Beatles White Album kind of thing. And there's some multi-track vocal harmonies that are really nice, although they're not over-layered. It's like they're just kind of two different separate tracks. Yeah, I mean, that's why I think it would fit among all these tracks. I can see why it would have fit on Thud and why it was from the Thud period, So now moving on to the instrumental. Of course, it doesn't really have any vocals. However, there is one section toward the end. You hear this mellotron, and you hear some ahs. I love harmonies like that. Like, for whatever reason, sometimes when you're hearing vocals that are just people, humans, singing really in key, they don't even need to be saying anything. It's like na 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 na, stuff like that, And this is no exception. The chanting that kind of stands out. But I hear Dust in the Wind even more on this instrumental version. I don't know if he was thinking, I'm going to write a song a little bit like Dust in the Wind. But the difference, I think, there's some piano on this. I don't think I heard much piano on the ones on both with the vocals. But you do hear a mellotron, or what sounds like a mellotron. A patch, it sounds like. There's some shakers, some shaker percussion, which is a little more noticeable, which is a common percussion instrument on many tracks on Thud. And then there's part where you can hear the bass line really well. But then there's some piano, and it's very gentle and almost sad or romantic. Like, I'm thinking like at a cottage in the summer or something, So you could do I could try doing karaoke to it. I don't know. But yeah, I like it. I mean, given the choice between the two, I still prefer the version with the vocals because we get vocals. But if you had more of the chanting, I don't know, it would almost be a push. So that's my take on walking into it. Gotta get the waking the sun. I mean, there's so many songs that have like walking in the sun, walking in the wind, Spock's Beard, and Lorena Kindle. Waking the Sun from Kevin Gilbert, that I know was only on these 2 versions. So, but thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.